okay, what do you do before you ever go into the room? What do you do so that you hit the ground running when you get into that session?
Well, I do a couple things, and I go back to what I've done with other clients with this strategic planning model, and I go to my individual clients that I've worked with. The first thing I do is I gather information, because even though I say that you've got to have that clear picture and it has to come from the people in the room, I have to be able to kind of let it pass the sniff test, because I have accountability also here, not just to the people in the room. There are people on the outside that have hired me. And so what I do is I take a cross-section of information via surveys, phone conversations, Skype calls, group calls, whatever it takes. You gather that information. That way I can see that, oh, so-and-so director wants this, so-and-so CEO wants this, oh, but the group wants this. Beforehand, I try to get a clear picture of how I'm going to mold that together, because I do have to make sure that I'm delivering the goods to the people who have hired me. At the same time, though, I have to make sure that this outcome thingy that we're working on is going to be bought into by the people in the room that are going to have to do it.
One of the things I find when I do that kind of research is that I may have 9 out of 12 people that tell me the very same thing, and then I've got these 3 outliers.
Right.
And what I find is that I personally, when I'm doing these things, I don't share who the information comes from,
No.
because I feel like people need an opportunity to say something that they don't want to say in the room. How do you feel about that?
I feel the same way. I cloak all of the content that I get beforehand. That's why I said, and sometimes we may do group calls or something like that. It doesn't happen a lot. Usually the day that we do the event is the first time the group is together. I do, and again, it sounds kind of a mean or malicious term, but I will bait the audience, throw little things out there, see how they react, because maybe a director or a CEO or somebody has given me something that must have this.
Well, and I kind of think, you know what? I get to pack up and leave. You get to pack up and leave.
Yeah.
So you get to you get to make hamburger out of the sacred cows.
Yes.
You get to call it as it is, because you get to leave town, and maybe people they don't feel safe to say it in the room. That's a reality of every association, every corporation I've been into.
It is.
But you get to leave town, so you get to say those things, and then nobody has to take any heed.
Right.
But if it's a reality, it's a reality. Call it what you see.
Right, and I tell the group, there are going to be some harsh realities today. There are some bitter pills we're going to have to swallow. It's called work for a reason. We've got to. There's going to be some part of this that is going to seem like you're pushing string uphill, but the idea is to get people to have a shot to do what they like to do, what they're good at, what they're buying into most of the time.
So let's take you one more step in that. Under those circumstances, it is not uncommon that you, as a strategic planning expert, professional, you and I both know sometimes we need some changes. Sometimes that corporation, that department, that team, that association needs to look different than it looked last year in order to meet the challenges of the organization or the industry or the world.
Right.
How do you put that out in front of them?
It's hard. I mean, you start off with something that says very simple and probably said 1,000 times. Same level of thinking got you where you are today will not get you where you will be tomorrow. Hope some eyes open up when you say that. Then from there, you start saying, well, what if we did that differently? Just because we've always done that, let's not do that. That's only brought us this far. What do we have to do? Now you'll get some people who have some wild ideas, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
And you'll just see them. The wild idea will come out. You'll see 2 or 3 people light up like that would be really good, and then you see the rest of them kind of doing this whole thing.
You see some heels dug in.
Yeah. And you gotta really say to them, no, just allow yourself. We're in this room. We're all safe.
That's really scary for some people.
What if we did that? And then what you try to do, and this is the role as a presenter or a speaker, facilitator in the room, you try to get that compromise. You try to pull these people out of that heels dug in position a little bit, and you try to say, you know what, let's tone that down a little bit on that, and you get them to come together.
Don't you find, though, that when you start talking about that change and the opportunity and the threats and all of the pieces that come together, don't you find, though, that energizes the group? That when they do leave, they're looking at it, because one of the things that keeps an association or a company tired is the same old, same old.
Yeah, it does.
And then when they actually face a real challenge or something exciting, something different, it energizes the group, and you see better return.
Yep, and it does this too. By getting those things out in the open, it disarms them. They're not as scary anymore.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden you find out that somebody might be dug in, like you said, heels dug in. They're just scared. They just look at it as a threat, or it's just, really, I don't know how to do that, or something like that. You start to handle some of those things, handle those objections. All of a sudden, you start to see people move in, like you're saying, the right direction of the change needed to get the job done. Because if they get stuck, we know they're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Good.